To support us, please subscribe, ring the bell, like, share, and send super thanks, please.
The most wonderful views on Earth, ranked 1 of 41. Raniba/Alami stock photo. Take a view. The world is packed with picture-perfect views. There are the parks, plains, and wilderness areas that unfurl seemingly endlessly, and mountains, lakes, and rivers so beautiful they hardly seem real. Then there are the spectacular skylines and buildings that have sprung from the human mind. With all this going on, it can sometimes be hard for travelers to know where to look first. You can start by gazing upon this stunning selection. In our opinion, these are the world's most wonderful views. Click through the gallery to see how we've ranked them. The most wonderful view. 40. Avenue of the Baobabs, Madagascar. This row of fat-bottomed baobab trees is as bizarre and beguiling as the island's tangerine-eyed lemurs, and probably just as frequently photographed. The Avenue of the Baobabs, on a dirt road between Morondava and Belanai Tsirabihina in western Madagascar, is made up of majestic centuries-old trees, reaching up to 100 feet, 30 meters tall. 3 of 41. Rudy 1976/Alami stock photo. 39. Neuschwanstein Castle, Germany. Think Germany's idyllic Neuschwanstein Castle looks familiar? It might be because this incredible structure in the foothill of the Alps, built by Bavaria's King Ludwig II in the latter part of the 19th century, is known to have inspired the vision and works of a young Walt Disney. Also known as the Swan King or Fairy Tale King, the shy royal Ludwig had built the castle in order to withdraw from public life. 7 weeks after his death in 1887, it was open to the public. These days, 1.4 million people visit the attraction annually. Gallery view. List view. 38. Table Mountain, South Africa. The African continent is home to some of the finest views on the planet. Right down at the bottom of this enormous landmass, on the coast of South Africa, you'll find one of its very best. At 3,563 feet, 1,086 meters high, the iconic flat-topped Table Mountain overlooks the city of Cape Town and the Atlantic Ocean. Whether you're taking in the glorious panoramic from the top here, or simply enjoying its epic form from the urban sprawl below, nobody can argue that this incredibly scenic part of the world isn't worthy of a spot on this gallery. The most wonderful views on Earth, ranked 5 of 41. Picard Rainer/Alami stock photo. 37. City of Arts and Sciences, Spain. Valencia's futuristic and otherworldly City of Arts and Sciences supposedly went 4 times over budget, with the project's final cost reported to be the equivalent of just over £1 billion, $1.3 billion. When huge sums like that are involved, it can be easy to criticize. Ask anyone who's had the privilege of seeing these immense sci-fi structures up close, though, and they'll likely tell you that they were blown away by the site's stunning architectural vision. For the perfect view, see it lit up at night and reflected in the surrounding water. Gallery view. List view. Ella Buchan. 36. Bryce Canyon, Utah, USA. There's something mystical about the pinnacles and hoodoos that rise jaggedly across the landscape of this beguiling national park. Or perhaps that's just if you stare at them for too long. The cream and apricot rock formations are certainly fascinating, especially the amphitheater scene from Inspiration Point, pictured. The most wonderful views on Earth, ranked 7 of 41. Anya Vanova/Shutterstock. 35. Tower Bridge, England, UK. London has a lion's share when it comes to iconic landmarks and a generous scattering of recognizable bridges spanning the River Thames too. But this Gothic Revival style suspension bridge, built between 1886 and 1894, is one of the most famous and most photographed of them all. Tower Bridge's namesake 2 towers and pastel blue cables add a fairy tale quality to the landscape. The most wonderful views on Earth, ranked 8 of 41. Hermitage/Shutterstock.
34. Douro Valley, Portugal.
Sometimes natural and man-made beauty conspire to create something truly wonderful. The vineyards of Portugal's Douro Valley are a prime example. Etched into the hillsides, they perfectly demonstrate that practical can be very pretty indeed. The terraces are carved into the steep banks of the River Douro, taming the land to grow the grapes that produce the region's renowned port and red wines.
Gallery view.
List view. Ella Buchan. September 17, 2024. 33. Cloud Gate, Illinois, USA. Chicago is packed with incredible views, from the bold blue of Lake Michigan to the skyscrapers that make up the jagged skyline. Yet it's a bean-shaped sculpture by Sir Anish Kapoor that steals the show. Cloud Gate, nicknamed the Bean, is a gleaming landmark in Millennium Park. It creates a striking image with a backdrop of some of the Chicago's most recognizable buildings, while its mirrored surface captures the cityscape to perfection.
Gallery view.
List view. Ella Buchan.
Trideg Dai, Shinshida Wallace.
This classic view opens up from the summit of Mount Snowdon. The skinny, squiggly lake you can see pictured lies within Snowdonia National Park, cradled by emerald green valleys and surrounded by mountains. It's also linked to the legend of King Arthur and the Lady of the Lake. Views in the UK don't get much more magnificent than this one. The most wonderful views on Earth, ranked 11 of 41. Fessus/Shutterstock. 31. Provence Lavender Fields, France. Japan has cherry blossom. The US states of New England have fall colors, and Provence, in southern France, has endless swathes of lavender. Each summer, farms and fields bloom into a bright sea of lilac, violet, and magenta, and infuse the air with delicate, floral perfume. Just gorgeous. The most wonderful views on Earth. 0. Dubrovnik Old Town, Croatia. From its apricot and honey-hued rooftops to its wide, marble roads, Dubrovnik's 13th century old town is almost too pretty to be true. It's encased by thick stone walls that give clear views in every direction. If that wasn't enough, it looms over the Adriatic Sea, with views of the sapphire water dotted with verdant islands.
Gallery view.
List view. 9. Mayan ruins of Tulum, Mexico. Mexico's Caribbean coast is rich in Mayan archaeological sites, but there's something especially fascinating about those in Tulum. The ruins of the 13th century walled city perch on a bluff overlooking the sea, creating a striking image against pale sand beaches and turquoise waters.
Gallery view.
List view. Ella Buchan. September 17. 8. White Sands National Monument, New Mexico, USA. The rolling sand dunes of this vast national park in Tularosa Basin, New Mexico, are so snow-white you might expect the ground to feel cold, especially when people sled down the slopes. Dunes curve and dip seemingly endlessly, although actually the desert covers 275 square miles, 443 square kilometers, between the San Andres and Sacramento mountain range. 27. That Wanaka Tree, New Zealand. New Zealand's most famous and photographed tree, that Wanaka tree, also known as that Wanaka willow, has been a social media celebrity ever since Christchurch's Dennis Rademacher's image of it one misty June morning won the 2014 New Zealand Geographic Photograph of the Year competition. Since then, it has become a regular on Instagram feeds. You'll find it at the southern end of Lake Wanaka, in the South Island's Otago region. Set your alarm and get there early to beat the selfie stick crowds. The most wonderful views on Earth. 26. Crater Lake, Oregon, USA. Some views are always on display, while others choose to reveal themselves only when they're ready. Crater Lake is definitely in the latter category. The Caldera Basin, formed in a collapsed volcano and fed by rain and snowmelt, is America's deepest lake, reaching depths of 1,963 feet, 598 meters. It's often shrouded in fog, which only makes its bold blue beauty feel even more special when it clears. The most wonderful views on Earth. 25. Golden Gate Bridge, California, USA. This San Francisco icon is a classic for good reason. Its beautifully bold, rust-red curves and lines are just mesmerizing to look at, and from pretty much every angle and distance. And although the Golden Gate Bridge is a man-made, engineering marvel, it complements the city's parks and beaches as effortlessly as it does the gleaming downtown skyline. Gallery view. List view. Ella Buchan. 4. Lake Bled, Slovenia. A church on an island on a teal lake. Views don't come much more picture-perfect than those over Lake Bled, in the Slovenian resort town of the same name. The islet, in the center of the lake, is dominated by the medieval pilgrimage Church of the Assumption of Mary, or Lady of the Lake, whose tower peeps through the trees. Throw in a dramatic backdrop of the Julian Alps and the Karawanks mountain range, and you have a fairy tale scene. Gallery view. List view. Ella Buchan. September 7. 23. Moraine Lake, Canada. Depending on the light and time of day, the surface of Moraine Lake, one of the most gorgeous sights in Banff National Park, can appear a soft teal, a shimmering icy blue, or a milky turquoise color. The pristine nature of the glacially fed lake is framed by a backdrop of snow-dusted mountains and shores edged with pine trees. Ice forms in winter and early spring, with flows often floating under the water surface, adding an extra layer of beguiling beauty. Gallery view. List view. Ella Buchan. September 17, 2024. Inspiration. See more on this topic. Share the love.
The most wonderful views on Earth ranked 20 of 41. Peak Creative Collective / Shutterstock. 22. Sala de Uyuni, Bolivia. Barren doesn't really cut it. Lunar-like perhaps, or simply surreal. Sala de Uyuni is the world's largest salt flat, covering nearly 4,633 square miles, 12,000 square kilometers, with crackly, crunchy white salt and rock formations. It's the result of a prehistoric lake that dried out, leaving behind the dazzling desert-like landscape. Gallery view. List view. 21. Supertree Grove, Singapore. These surreal sculptures are part of the Gardens by the Bay, whose conservatories are filled with lush plants and blooms. The trees tower between 82 feet, 25 meters, and 164 feet, 50 meters, and are illuminated at night, adding a new dimension and extra lights to the already sleek, shiny cityscape of Singapore. Gallery view. List view. Ella Buchan. 20. Simien Mountains, Ethiopia. In the north of this vast, fascinating country, Simien Mountains National Park has gaspingly gorgeous vistas at every turn. The green, undulating mountains are roamed by curved-horned whale ibex, Ethiopian wolves, and, easiest to spot, endemic gelada monkeys, who gather in groups to preen and play in the meadows. Gallery view. List view. Ella Buchan. September 17, 2020. 19. Hallstatt, Austria. When a village that's home to just 800 residents is getting over 3 million visitors a year, you know there's probably something quite special about the place. Sandwiched between towering alpine hills and a beautiful blue lake, adorable Hallstatt is comfortably one of the planet's most picturesque spots. Thought to have inspired the fictional kingdom of Arendelle in Disney's 2013 blockbuster Frozen. In recent years, the locals here have protested over tourism and called for limits on the number of daily tourists. Discover what amazing tourist attractions are being ruined by commercialization. The most wonderful views on Earth. 18. Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe and Zambia. However you look at it, this huge, thundering waterfall on the Zambezi River is pretty incredible. Straddling Zimbabwe and Zambia, with cascades more than 5,500 feet, 1,700 meters, wide and 355 feet, 108 meters tall, it's one of the world's largest and most iconic waterfalls. It's also among the loudest, making such a racket and creating such a cloud of mist that the Kalololozi people named it Mosedunya, or the smoke that thunders. The most wonderful views on Earth. 17. Milford Sound, New Zealand. This fjord on the country's South Island is surrounded in lush rainforest and waterfalls, and home to seals, penguins, and dolphins. What more could you want in a view? Mountains, perhaps, like the much-photographed Mitre Peak, which dominates the shores. Even rain is a joy here, setting in motion a series of temporary waterfalls that cascade down the mountain slopes. 16. Bagan Myanmar. Mist and mystery shroud this town of temples, the capital of the ancient Bagan kingdom between the 11th and 13th centuries. The archaeological site sits on a bend of the Ayeyarwady River in Myanmar's central plain. It's an incredible, museum-worthy collection of golden temples, monasteries, and sculptures. The view is even more spectacular when hot air balloons drift over the ornate landscape at sunrise. 15. Top of the Rock, New York, USA. Let's hear it for New York, home to arguably the most famous skyline in the world. To see the Big Apple in all its glory, with the instantly recognizable Empire State Building very much front and center, head up to Rockefeller Center and enjoy the view from the top of the Rock Observation Deck. If you can try and time your visit so you're up here when the sun is setting, watching the city's countless lights coming on as the sun beneath the horizon is a moment that will stay with you forever. The most wonderful. 14. Matterhorn, Switzerland. The Matterhorn might not be the world's biggest mountain, but it can lay claim to being the most recognizable one. Famous, amongst other things, for its appearance on the packaging of Toblerone chocolate bars, the much-photographed mountain straddles the border between Switzerland and Italy. Shaped like a jagged tooth, the iconic Matterhorn towers over the picture-perfect alpine town of Zermatt and pulls in adventurous souls from around the world. Sitting 14,692 feet, 4,478 meters above sea level, its summit is a big draw for experienced climbers. 3. Pamukkale's Thermal Pools, Turkey. Bright white and shimmering turquoise are a match made in hue heaven, and there are few places that demonstrate that more gorgeously than the thermal pools of Pamukkale, a town in western Turkey. The travertine terraces, whose staggered steps tumble down the mountainside, are the result of limestone deposited over millennia from the natural hot springs, which flow over and form milky blue pools. The most wonderful views on Earth ranked. 2. Mont-Saint-Michel, France. In a country as rich in epic terrain and stunning architecture as France, being considered its most impressive site takes some doing. Step forward, Mont Saint-Michel. This holy island set in a breathtaking bay shared by Normandy and Brittany, with its gravity-defying abbey seemingly erupting up out of the sand, has been one of Europe's major pilgrimage destinations for centuries. When it comes to this spectacular UNESCO World Heritage Site, seeing really is believing. 1. Santorini's blue rooftops, Greece. Greece, and perhaps particularly its islands, is so blessed with natural and man-made beauty, it's almost embarrassing. But it's hard to think of a view that more succinctly sums up the country's gorgeousness than the blue domes of Santorini Island. The most famous whitewashed buildings are in Oe, a clifftop village perched very prettily by the Aegean Sea, whose azure hue perfectly matches those rooftops. The most wonderful views on Earth ranked. 10. The Pyramids of Giza, Egypt. No list claiming to be a rundown of the world's best views would be complete without the iconic Pyramids of Giza on it. Situated just outside the hustle and bustle of modern-day Cairo, in the ultimate display of old meets new, these enormous man-made structures in the desert captured the public's imagination a long time ago and never really let go. The Great Pyramid of Giza is the largest of the Egyptian pyramids, thought to be over 4,500 years old. At its current height of 450 feet, 137 meters tall, it stands proudly as a symbol of ancient Egypt's architectural prowess. The most wonderful views on Earth ranked. 9. Old Man of Storr, Scotland, UK. There really is no shortage of wonderful views on Scotland's Isle of Skye. In all honesty, we probably could have filled this gallery with a few more images of the island's epic and otherworldly terrain. For now, you'll just have to settle for this jaw-dropping shot of the iconic Old Man of Storr up on the Trotternish Ridge. The pinnacle of basalt rock, measuring 180 feet 55 meters high, is all that's left of a volcanic plug that's 2,800 million years old. The most wonderful views on Earth ranked. 8. Great Barrier Reef, Australia. The Great Barrier Reef is famously so vast it can be viewed from space. It looks good both underwater and from dry land. It's the world's largest reef system, made up of nearly 3,000 reefs and encompassing more than 135,000 square miles, 350,000 square kilometers. It's also home to whales, dolphins, sea turtles, and thousands of species of fish. Even without all that, the dazzling, dappled expanse of blue is pretty lovely to look at. The most wonderful views on Earth ranked. 7. Ancient city of Petra, Jordan. Petra is so spellbinding, it's been given several nicknames, each of them delightful: Pink City, Rose City, and Lost City. The first two are due to the blushing hue of its sandstone, while the latter refers to the fact it was unknown to the Western world until Al-Khazna, the treasury, reached through a curving slot canyon, the Sick. The most wonderful views on Earth ranked. 6. Grand Canyon South Rim, Arizona, USA. Some landscapes just have a way of putting things into perspective, or at least making you feel very small indeed. The Grand Canyon is the master at this, and although there are really no bad views to be found in this vast national park, the South Rim is arguably the best for vistas. The rolling and undulating valley of jagged rust-red rock formations is washed with lilac and pink at sunrise. The most wonderful views on Earth ranked. Mount Fuji, Japan. Japan blooms and blossoms with so much beauty, it's tough to narrow down the best views. But we reckon the most classic vista is the perfect peak of Mount Fuji, whose snow-capped dome appears almost symmetrical. It's surrounded by stunners too, from Lake Ashi in Hakone to the city of Fujiyoshida, where the peak can be viewed from Chirito Pagoda. Northern Territory, Australia. Think of the Australian outback, and chances are your mind will immediately conjure up images of the iconic Uluru. At 1,142 feet, 348 meters high, the enormous sandstone monolith towers over the surrounding landscape and is thought to be 550 million years old. Climbing up this huge rock might have been banned in October 2019, but the view of it stretched out on the horizon, especially at sunrise and sunset, is still as memorable as ever. Get it on your... Great Wall of China, China. The views from the world's longest man-made structure, which stretches for more than 12,427 miles, 20,000 kilometers, certainly aren't bad. But it's the wall itself, snaking through forests, mountains, and rivers, that really captures the imagination and makes you catch your breath. The series of fortresses was built between the 3rd century BC and the 17th century, and is so large that, like the Great Barrier Reef, it can be seen from space with the help of magnification. Taj Mahal, India. When does a beautiful building become a beautiful view? When it's as magnificent and iconic as the Taj Mahal, which stands elegantly on the south bank of the Yamuna River in the city of Agra. The white marble mausoleum is one of the 7 wonders of the world, built between 1632 and 1648 as a tomb for an emperor's wife. Its ivory domes, ornately carved details, and minarets are surrounded by manicured gardens, with the beauty further enhanced by a long, reflecting pool. Machu Picchu, Peru. Few places capture the imagination like this archaeological site, a citadel built by the ancient Incas in the 15th century and mysteriously abandoned. Machu Picchu's network of dry stone walls and agricultural terraces etch the mountaintop site, surrounded by Andean peaks. Throw in llamas and alpacas, who graze on grassy slopes nearby, and you have a winner. Now step inside the ancient temples of the Americas.
To support us, please subscribe, ring the bell, like, share, and send super thanks, please.